Don in Culver City, California. Hey, Don, thanks for listening to us on KPFK. What's up?
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Great.
You know, I'm not sure if I learned this from you or not, but the reason that they had top marginal tax rates back in the 50s and 60s was that it actually helped grow the economy.
Yep. And the 40s, by the way.
Yeah.
And the 70s. And by the way, the decade of the 50s, the decade of the 60s, and the decade of the 70s were the only 3 decades in the entire 20th century where over an entire decade, GDP growth was over 3% for the entire 10-year period. And as soon as Reagan chopped that top tax rate down, you had some years where GDP was above 3%, but not entire decades anymore. Hasn't happened since.
Well, no, it's interesting. Reagan, being an actor, was made, I think, at least $3 million a year, and he resented all of those taxes on actors. But the original system was that most people making that kind of money were business owners, that if you're taxing them that much, they will plow the money back into their business and be forced to expand and hire more salespeople and et cetera, and actually grow the economy. But he, being an actor, had his own little myopic view of the world, and that's why he attacked it. It was all part of a suite of demand-side economics, and that's what we have to come back to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Instead of supply side insanity.
Well, and the other thing is it's a stabilizer, Don. Not only because that tax money grows the economy in part because it gets plowed back into the economy. We were building infrastructure like there was no tomorrow back then. You know, the Eisenhower Interstate Highway System, brand new hospitals, brand new schools all over the country. You know, anybody who went to school in the 60s and 70s knows that all those schools are brand new. You know, brand new roads. You know, brand new airports, train stations. I mean, you know, we were building the infrastructure, you know, telephone systems, you know, more efficient power systems. We were building the infrastructure that business used to become profitable and successful during that period of time in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And you know, Reagan just brought it all to a screeching halt by doing away with the money that was being used to build this infrastructure by cutting the tax rates so radically. And because most state tax rates are a percentage of federal. In other words, you take, what is your federal tax? Okay, this year I owe $6,000. Okay, your state tax is 7% of that or 3% of that or whatever it may be. And so, you know, the state tax being a percentage of the federal tax, as federal taxes went down, state taxes went down in the 80s and 90s, and with the Bush tax cut and with the Trump tax cut. And as those state and local taxes go down, the ability to even fund the local fire department falls apart. So what you find is if you look at major economies around the world, whenever the top tax rate is above 50%, the economy tends to stabilize and it doesn't have wild swings of recession and you know, boom and bust. Whereas when the top tax rate is below 50%, boom, you get into this kind of territory too, Don.
Yeah, it builds a hybrid economy. Now, you had asked about why is this happening. I think part of it is not a culture of greed so much as subjugation. By promoting these policies, we get impoverished, and therefore we can't participate in participatory democracy. And we get shut out more and more. And it's all part. I'm to the point where I'm thinking that since there's a lot of social darkness at the top of the food chain, they want to eliminate a lot of the overpopulation of the world. So they're just going to marginalize us to the point where we're just useless eaters and that kind of
Well, it's happening right now, Don. I mean, you know, the lifespan in the United States is falling, and the suicide rate is increasing. So apparently they're being successful. Don, thanks for the call. We'll be right back.